Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good day to the listener. Today, our group will present about the Islamic credit card based on Ujrah concept. First, let me introduce myself and my group members. My name is Muhammad Izzaham bin Muhammad Nur. Second, Khairul Anwar bin Muhammad Mukhtar, and lastly Muhammad Iqbal Farhan bin Muhammad Izani. So let's move to another slide. This slide about the introduction of our topic. First of all, Islam is the best religion who was caring from the various aspects, including to Islamic financial, because it's to teach their believer to live in his life based on Al-Quran and As-Sunnah. So, based on Al-Quran, our God was mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 275, which is Allah was permitted trade and has forbidden interest. Based on this verse, we can see Allah permitted trade, which means we can do the trade including when want to do the transaction in banking. But all the transaction must be based on Sharia compliance. Next, Islamic banking and finance have their own discipline. That's all the activity must according to the Sharia law. And in global, we can see Islamic banking has been practiced by the majority of Muslim nations such as Indonesia, Malaysia, Egypt, Sudan, Arab United, and so on. In addition, Islamic banking is the important tools that give the inspiration to the Muslim, because all the business and transaction that they have practiced was comply with the requirement of the Sharia compliance. For the example, Islamic banking was avoid dealing with riba, gharar, maisir, and all the transaction that's forbidden in Islam. However, as we know, credit card is the plastic money that allow the customers to acquire the credit from a larger number, and this credit was released by a bank or other financial institution. We talk about the credit. In banking system, credit can be described as a tool to purchasing goods or stuff, which is someone can use the credit card to purchase and take an ownership of goods, and lastly, paid it later under the agreement contract. Last but not least, in our country, consumption of credit card or plastic money among the community of Malaysia nowadays become trending, especially to those who take part in trade or business. This slide about the Islamic credit card, and I will explain a little about Islamic credit card. First of all, an Islamic credit card, also known as a credit card air, that can be a purpose to Muslim to have the expediency of credit card, at the same time can keeping true to their believer, as well as can fulfill the will of their religion, which is avoid the riba, gharar, uncertainty, and so on. Next, second point is the important thing to establish Islamic credit card is must in the force with Sharia compliance. And lastly, it's also known as the payment. We talk about the payment. The payment should have at least three of Islamic principles. First, the credit card must be based on Sharia compliance. Second, the Islamic credit card must have certainty to be accepted by the worldwide. And lastly, an Islamic credit card should not bring all the criteria that's considered haram by Islamic principle. Lastly, Islamic credit card was implement some of the Sharia contract that have ensuring by the Central Bank of Malaysia, which is Ujrah, Tawarud, Ta'wid, and all these Sharia contract will be explained by next presenter.
Okay, thanks to our previous presenter. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Anwar bin Muhammad, and today I will present the topic about the concept of credit card. A credit card is a form of payment card that is issued to customers, which is holders, to allow them to pay for goods and service provided by a merchant based on the holder's agreement with the issuer to pay the amount paid plus other agreed upon extra costs. Credit cards require card holders to repay the borrowed funds plus any applicable interest as well as any additional agreed upon charge in full by the billing date or over time. Maybank Shopee Visa Platinum Credit Card, Allianz Bank Visa Infinite, Allianz Bank Platinum Card, and other credit cards are example. Credit cards have a higher annual percentage rate, which is APR, than other types of consumer lending. Interest charge on any unpaid balance charged to the card and typically imposed approximately 1 month after a purchase is made. Credit card, on the other hand, allow users to carry over their loan balance subject to interest charge. Credit cards also, in other words, integrate payment service with credit links. Okay, next, the concept of Ujrah. According to the Security Commission Malaysia, Ujrah, which is a revenue earned by workers in the form of money delivered as a service or labor within a specific time frame, as long as they accomplish their task. The essay also states the Ujrah is a monetary payment for the use of service or manfaat. Islam requires that the submission of Ujrah be complete after the task is complete. However, under the Ujrah framework, banks manage and maintain the cardholder's Islamic card and collect fees for the service. The bank will charge to the customer a Ujrah, in this case for handling and maintaining his Islamic card. The client will settle the yearly service charge for using a credit card, such as bank statements or obtaining bank statements at the end of the month, and other difficulties in Ujrah underlying structures. Okay, next, as a result, the Mudharabah Capital Guarantee and Kafalah or Dhaman contract further clarify the underlying judgment of permissibility and impermissibility of the Ujrah idea. Okay, first, legal status of Ujrah for Mudharabah Capital Guarantee. As some jurists have allowed the permissibility of Ujrah on Dhaman, thus it also can be applied in the capital guarantee of Mudharabah Capital, which is in the third party guarantee, because it is a part of Dhaman. The Sharia Advisory Council, which is SAC, conclude that Ujrah paid for third party guarantees in Mudharabah is allowable on the condition that the investor cannot claim for any repayment from the issuer should there be any loss incurred in the investment. The investor is also permitted to request collateral from the issuer to cover against any likelihood of loss due to gross negligence by the issuer. Second, legal rule on Ujrah in Kafalah or Dhaman contract. Some permitted and some are forbidden to charge fees on the contract. Hereby, we divide it into the two parts. The first is permissibility and the second is impermissibility of Ujrah on Kafalah contract. Okay, next. First, views that allow Ujrah in Kafalah or Dhaman contract. As referred to Wahbah Zuhaili, it is permissible in charge and Ujrah for Dhaman or Kafalah. According to Dr. Nazir Hamad, the rules for a charge of Ujrah for any guaranteed service are subject to the guarantor's liability towards the debt, which is categorized as below. First, if the guarantor did not make any payment for the settlement of debt to the creditor, either because the debtor has settled the debt or the creditor writes off the debt, it is allowed to charge Ujrah. Second, if the guarantor settles the debt while at the same time the guarantor is also indebted to him and the amount of the guarantor's debt is equivalent to the amount he has paid for the settlement of debt, it is permissible for him to charge Ujrah. This is due to the occurrence of muqasah between the guarantor and the guaranteed party. Third, if the guarantor is in the same situation as above, but the amount of guaranteed debt that is paid to the creditor forms part of the amount of debt owed by the guarantor to the guaranteed person, charging an ujrah is allowed. However, the guarantor must be settled the balance of his debt to the guaranteed person. Okay, next. 4. If the guarantor settles the debt of the guaranteed person and the guarantor does not owe to the guaranteed person, it is allowed to charge a fee for the guarantee, provided that the guaranteed person must not delay in refunding to the guarantor the guaranteed amount paid by the guarantor. 5. If the guarantor settles the debt of the guaranteed person and the guarantor has no debt owed to the guaranteed person, but the guaranteed person fails to pay the guarantor the guaranteed amount paid by the guarantor within a reasonable time, then it is not allowed to charge any fee or ujrah. Okay, second views that disallow ujrah in kafalah or daman contract. The majority of earlier Islamic jurists were not allowed to charge fees on kafalah. This view is based on the argument that kafalah contract in nature is uqud tabaruk, at which is voluntary and benevolent. Some of the scholars add that if a kafalah or daman is stipulated with a charge of ujrah, it is tantamount, which is setara to a practice of riba. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Muhammad Iqbal Farhan bin Muhammad Idhani. Today I will present our slide about Islamic credit card. Islamic credit cards are Sharia compliance financial products which are a part of Islamic banking. And Islamic credit cards offer perks and features similar to a conventional credit cards, such as cashbacks, rewards, air miles, and more. Aside from that, there are extra benefits to Islamic credit card that are not available with a conventional credit card. They will be further discussed below. Next, Islamic credit cards needs to be Sharia compliant and free from any activities that are deemed as unlawful in Islam. The main difference between Islamic credit cards and conventional credit cards are the prohibitions of gharar and riba. Gharar is overcharging, while riba is interest. There are no compound charge, as overcharging is also prohibited under Sharia law. An Islamic credit card will also have a filtering system to ensure that the credit card will only be utilized for halal transactions. An Islamic credit card would also have a filtering system to ensure that the credit card will only be utilized for halal transactions. In Malaysia, Islamic banking is governed by both Islamic law and financial industry rules and regulations. And Islamic credit card works the same way a conventional credit card works, which means you can swipe or wave to make a purchase, and you can also use it for online purchase. There are no compound charge for Islamic credit card, as it is also not allowed. Okay, now let's look to this slide. Sharia concept used for Islamic credit cards. They had three concepts used for Islamic credit card. Ujrah is a generic term in Arabic that translates to fee. However, it is usually used specifically in relation to a fee charge in exchange for a service. The Sharia concept of Ujrah used by Islamic banks refer to payment of a service fee in exchange for the service rendered to customers. And most Islamic credit cards in Malaysia are based on this concept. Next is Tawarruk. Tawarruk is a financing arrangement where customer will receive cash at the end of the financing arrangement through a network of sales transactions to meet their needs and wants. Tawarruk consists of two sales and purchase contracts involving two stages of transactions. Lastly is Ta'wid concept. Ta'wid is the compensation imposed on the actual loss suffered by the bank due to the delay and negligence of the customer in executing the financing payment. Income from Ta'wid can be counted as bank income. Ta'wid refers to compensation for actual loss. Taking into account the difficulties in determining the actual amounts of loss and the need for coordination on the industry, the SSC decided that the actual loss rate should be based on a decision of a third party, Bank Negara Malaysia. The issue relates to the practice of Ujrah-based Islamic credit card. The issue of rebate. In the perspective of Islamic transaction, rebate mentioned as a discount given by somebody to another as a gift in a financial transaction such as business and rent transactions. For instance, banks provide a rebate to their client who fulfill their obligations on time that is agreed by both parties. There are some problems in practicing Ujrah. However, a majority of scholars say that the Wataja Ajal is not allowed as it is similar to the concept of usury and is a kind of legal trick hillah, similar to the concept of riba. Therefore, it's not acceptable. They argue that the percentage increase and as a result of the repayment period postponement is regarded to be riba. Similarly, the decrease in the values of loans arising from shortening the refund period is also counts as riba. Islamic scholars do not allow pre-age discounts in the Islamic banking product because this will lead to the issue of gharar in the marketing price. Besides, some scholars argue that the concept of the rebate is similar, sale over the sale, which is prohibited by the Sunnah. The Hanafi school of jurisprudence ban refund if the practice is based on a precondition. Next is the issue of penalty charge. The penalty charge is a fine imposed to the debtor who fails to make the settlement or late payment of loan that bank claim. Muslim scholars have different views on the penalty charge. The first group opine that no penalty charge for late payment should be charged at all because they have a concurred belief that the penalty charge is similar to riba. Among the contemporary scholars who believe this are Muhammad Ali Al-Ghari and Nazir Hamad. The penalty is permitted to be imposed in the form of money, and it can be benefited by the bank as an income as opinion by Sheikh Muhammad Sadiq Al-Jaril, Sheikh Mustafa Zakka, and some Sharia committee members of Islamic Bank.
Thank you to all the presenter. So I will conclude about our topic. First of all the Muslim in the world should have the knowledge about the operation of Islamic credit card, because with this knowledge, the Muslim can know the difference between Islamic credit card and conventional credit card. As we know, Islamic credit card run all the transaction based on Sharia compliance, while conventional credit card run their transaction based on intellectual, as long as they can get more and more profit. Second, credit card based on Ujrah or fee was permitted by the Sharia perspective, as long as all the transaction that was run do not involve in any element, for instance riba or maisir or so on. Third, the Islamic credit card was established by the Islamic financial institution that have bring a lot of benefit to the community among the Muslim or non-Muslim. Lastly, the majority of Islamic jurists such as Sharia Advisory Council (SAC), the Accounting and Auditing Organization for Islamic Financial Institution (AAOIFI), and the International Islamic Fiqh Academy of Islamic Cooperation (IIFAOIC) was agreed that the bank was permissible to charge some fees for their service, such as involvement, renewal, and replacement fees, but all the fees that they charge must be avoided from the riba. So that's all from us. Thank you.